everyone. My name is Rachel Ouellette, and I work at West Haven Mental Health Center. I'm here with two of my colleagues who I will let introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Matt Hagler. I'm also a clinician at the West Haven Mental Health Center and happy to be here with you all today virtually.
And I'm Rihanna Frost-Calhoun. I'm also a clinician at the West Haven Mental Health Clinic, and happy to be here virtually.
And today we are talking about giving back to ourselves so that we can continue giving to others. Now, a question that might be popping into your mind is, why am I listening to a professional development webinar on this specific topic? And the good news is we have an answer. We have a reason why. And the truth is, so research highlights that being a teacher and working in schools is actually a really stressful profession. And it can also be a very fulfilling one, but it doesn't minimize the high levels of stress that you all do experience and deal with every day. And this is really important for many reasons, both for your own well-being, but also because we find that teachers often, and research shows this, feel more comfortable supporting their students' well-being, but don't always pay as much attention to themselves and how we're doing. And this is important because teacher well-being is also associated with student well-being. So teachers who are feeling well are more able to support students who are feeling well and students who are able to succeed academically. And so that's why we feel like putting this time in towards you is also important for supporting your students. And this is similar to the saying often that you can't pour from an empty cup, which is why we will be going over strategies that you can use for refilling your own cup. So that way you can refill the cup of others. So we'll be going over a number of different strategies today. We want to let you know now that you don't have to use all of them, and that these are different ideas and different ones are more helpful for each person. And so you can try some out, and we will offer opportunities throughout to reflect on which ones you might try in the future and want to continue. First, before we start, we want to do a little bit of a check-in. And so this you can do just for yourself. So checking in from a scale of 1 to 10, how you're feeling, bad to good, tired to full of energy, surviving to thriving. And the most important thing is just being honest with yourself of how you're feeling. Because the truth is, we often don't check in with ourselves until it reaches the point that we can no longer ignore it. And that is often a time where we're feeling very stressed or very fatigued or very frustrated. And then it takes us longer to come back, to feel like we're able to come back to feeling like ourselves. And so by checking in with ourselves more regularly, it lets us know when we might need to do something to help us feel a bit better in the moment and to prevent those big moments of high stress or high fatigue. And so we encourage you to have a piece of paper throughout, so that way you can use it in these moments of check-in. You can also pause throughout if you need a little bit of extra time. And then before we launch into our different strategies, we always like to start with the why behind we do the work that we do. And it's often easy in the kind of day-to-day chaos to forget this bigger picture of why it is that you chose to do the work that you do. And so you can take a few minutes, write down for yourself, or even just reflect on it in your head of what drew you to becoming a teacher, or what drew you to your current position, and what benefits do you see students gaining from the work that you do and all of the effort that you put in day to day. So we encourage you, you can pause the video, take however long you need to reflect on these questions, and then you can press play and continue on with us once you're ready. Okay, and so once you've thought about this, we're going to jump into our strategies. So we will be giving a number of different strategies around what we call the cognitive triangle. And so this is around using our thoughts, our behaviors, and our feelings, and finding ways to change each of these in order to improve how we feel in the workplace and how we feel about our work. And so to start us off, I will pass it along to Rihanna, who will get us started with the first part of the triangle.
All right, so we're going to talk about thinking first as part of our group of triangle pieces here. And to start with, we'll think about how you can pay attention to our thoughts, to notice what they are. We know that all of these parts are connected. The thoughts, what we do, and then how we feel can be connected together. So one place to start, and where I'll ask you to start, is with how you're feeling or how you're thinking, so that we can get to how we're feeling. So starting with how you are paying attention to thoughts, maybe after a bad day, you might have had some of these. Maybe some of these are identifiable in your own life, that you might come home and think, wow, today sucked. I'm exhausted. COVID's never going to end. And I wonder if we're going to have to close again, maybe replaying events or conversations in your head that didn't go well. So those are common thoughts that you might have at the end of a bad day. And it's good to first start to notice them. And then what do we do when we notice them? We start to notice these different kinds of thoughts. We all have what we call automatic thoughts, ideas that pop into our minds, and you don't even sort of try to think them, they just come up. And some of those thoughts can make us feel really bad or prevent us from doing things in a helpful way or reacting the way we want to. The thought kind of gets in the way of what we're trying to do. Other thoughts can be really helpful and make us feel better or help us react in a way that we want to. So we can think of having two kinds of thoughts, unhelpful thoughts and helpful thoughts. And why we're talking about all these thoughts, we talked about taking care of well-being here. We're talking about thoughts because changing the thoughts you're having, picking a new perspective, can help change how we feel and the decisions we make. So getting to those other parts of our triangle. Let's go back to some of these thoughts that you might have to give an example about how thoughts might impact our behaviors and our feelings. So we'll go back to, wow, today sucked, or I'm exhausted. If you're having these sort of thoughts, you might, if you go down to do here, right, you might think, wow, today sucked, and I'm going to withdraw or become distracted, do less things to take care of yourself. If you think, oh God, I wonder if we're going to have to close again about COVID, you might become just worried, tired, and apathetic, right? It's hard to keep trying to push about masks, trying to do the things that you believe are important. In the do category, if the thought you're having is, oh God, I don't know if this is ever going to get better, this is never going to end, right? So now we're going to ask you to pause and think about some thoughts that you have, some of those automatic thoughts, maybe some helpful automatic thoughts, some unhelpful automatic thoughts, and how they might relate for you to what you do, and then how you feel when you have those thoughts. So you can go ahead and pause the video for as long as you need to maybe jot some down. It's helpful to write down some of these ideas and even make yourself a triangle. What are my thoughts? And then how might that be something that impacts what I do and how I feel? All right, and when you're done thinking about that, we'll talk about, well, what can you do? You've written some of your ideas down about those automatic thoughts. And one of the things we can do is, like we said, a new perspective. So replacing some of our thoughts with alternate thoughts. Your brain gives you an automatic thought and you can try to think about another option. So here are 3 steps for kind of picking out alternate thoughts. One thing is to make a plan. So if you have the thought, oh God, I wonder if we're going to have to close again, you might be able to make a plan like, I will look for some ways to make my classroom safer tomorrow. Or that you're going to ask someone for some advice tomorrow afternoon. Maybe something went poorly and you're replaying in your head. We talked about that as an automatic thought, but you can make that plan. What am I going to do about it? So that's one way to replace an unhelpful automatic thought with a more helpful one. Next, you can look to find a piece of hope or pride. So we might be having that negative thought and we tend to be very critical of ourselves, right? We can pick out the most critical piece or the worst part of what happened. And so look for something that you're proud of or something that gives you some hope. You can say, I did everything that I could today to keep the kids safe, and I'm going to try again tomorrow. Maybe you even got most of your kids to keep their masks on while they were sitting in a circle. And we can have that automatic thought, oh, I can't get them to keep their masks on, or we can switch, right, to thinking about the part that we are proud of or that gives us hope. Then the third piece that you can work through here is then working on focusing on the moment. Remember how we talked about if you have these automatic thoughts that are negative, you can get stuck in them, keep thinking about them and miss out on things that are important to you. So maybe once you've made a plan, you've found something that you have hope or pride in, you can work on then deciding, I'm going to focus on my family or on myself. I'm going to do something to take care of myself tonight so that I can be ready tomorrow, rather than getting stuck in that thought. We want to make a point here that what we're not trying to tell you is you should never have any negative thoughts. Negative thoughts and uncomfortable emotions are just natural and have a purpose. This is a time where we might have a lot of them. So we're not trying to avoid ever having any negative thoughts. We're not trying sort of what you might have heard called toxic positivity, where you never let yourself have a negative thought. The point is that we then look for a helpful thought so that we don't get stuck in those unhelpful thoughts that then prevent us from doing and feeling the way we want to. So we can have all of those emotions. They're all natural and have a purpose, and finding ways to change our emotions through our thoughts and through our behaviors can actually help us move through those difficult moments, and ensure that we actually get to rest. And that's the really important piece. It's not that we can't think about something that's hard, make a plan, look for something that's hopeful. Those are all important things. Feel that feeling that's hard, and then find a way to be able to put it aside, rest, and be ready for the next day. Remember that we're working on identifying alternate thoughts here. So if we're thinking about what an alternative is, here are some steps or some ideas for figuring out what the alternative thoughts are for your thoughts that might be unhelpful. One is that we acknowledge our feelings. They're a natural part of being a caring teacher who cares about your students, that you're going to have those thoughts and feelings. And then ask yourself, is this thought worrying? Or am I thinking about something that's actually going to be helping me right now? Is this going to help the youth I'm serving, right? Sometimes we're having a thought that's a planning thought that might be helpful, and sometimes that might really not be helping anymore. And so it's important to ask yourselves, is it a helpful or unhelpful thought? And is this actually helping the youth? If it's not, then finding that alternative to replace it allows you to rest and acknowledge the important work that you did, rather than getting stuck in a thought that's not helping. If you're struggling to identify alternate thoughts, this can be hard when you are stuck in a negative thought or it's been a really crummy day. Remember the 3 steps we talked about. Make a plan, find a piece of hope or pride, and then refocus on the moment. What are you going to do right now to rest for the next day? And we want to really encourage you here to treat yourself with compassion. Sometimes when we're looking at alternate thoughts, we can even have more unhelpful thoughts about, oh God, why are you thinking that? Or this is not helping. I shouldn't be so negative, right? We're often our own worst critic, and it's a really hard time. The word we have been saying this whole time is unprecedented. It is a really hard time to be a teacher. And it is okay for us to celebrate the little things, to notice that we're struggling. And one of the ways that you can actually help treat yourselves with compassion is to help point out the accomplishments of others, big accomplishments and small ones, maybe of your co-teacher, of kids in the class, of your other colleagues that you're working with. That's another way that you can feel better, right? Giving to others can be a way to give to yourself. So try to treat yourself with that same compassion that we're sure you bring to the youth you serve and to your friends and family. All right, so we've talked a bunch now about thinking about thoughts and some unhelpful thoughts, alternate thoughts. So let's take a minute to do some thinking and looking for some helpful thoughts. You'll go ahead and pause, use that paper that Rachel suggested you have, and write down what's something that you're proud of today. What's something that went well this week? What's your hope for next week? Or what's your hope for tomorrow? Those would be good points to work on writing down. And why are we having you do this? Because research has found that positive impacts of thinking, like if you have those positive thoughts and writing down a few of these things each day, will actually really improve those other parts of the triangle, what you do and how you feel. So you could start a practice of doing this regularly, listing 3 things you're grateful for, something you're proud of, or something you're looking forward to. And before I invite you to pause and to do a little writing yourselves. I'm going to ask my colleagues to participate with me in giving you a couple of examples of ways that you might go out with something that you're grateful for, something that you're proud of. I'll say, I am grateful today for a very small thing that we have a coffee maker in the office because I forgot my coffee and it really allowed me to take care of myself when the morning started. What about you, Rachel or Matt?
Today, I am grateful that I am feeling healthy. And I also, then on the tougher days, I think sometimes I am just proud for showing up. I think sometimes we just need to give ourselves credit for showing up that day and doing our best. And that within itself is an accomplishment some days.
Yeah, for me, I was going to say that I feel proud that I showed up today. Just for transparency, we were talking before we started recording, and I said, I'm feeling tired. I don't know if I'm up for this. That was a thought that I was having, but here we are, and hopefully I'll do a good job in my portion, and try to treat myself with some compassion.
Great examples. All right. So like Rachel and Matt demonstrated, that you can pick small things or big things. Look for the ways that you really can find some pride, some things that you're looking forward to. Go ahead and pause. And when you're ready, restart the video to come and join us. All right. Welcome back. So I've talked to you a bunch about thinking, different kinds of helpful and unhelpful thoughts and how to work on them. Now we're going to move on to the next part of the cognitive triangle, which is the feelings. So I'm gonna hand this off to Matt, who's gonna talk about how feelings are involved in this wellness that we're working towards.
I'm sorry, I realized I was muted. So sorry, I'm having trouble with the remote control. Okay, here we are. I'm sorry about that. So treating myself with compassion. So as Rihanna shared and as Rachel shared, the thinking, the feeling, the doing, these things are all linked. So the nice thing about that is that we can sort of intervene with ourselves at any of these areas. So I'm going to be talking the ways that you can work with your feelings if for whatever reason those thoughts are just really stubborn and it's hard to sort of get yourself out of that negative thinking cycle. Maybe we'll try to work directly with our emotions. When you hear the word emotions, you're probably thinking of different types of emotions: happiness, sadness, anxiety, excitement. And those all mean different things for us. We all experience them in different ways, but typically there's some overlap in how we experience them. And one of the places that we really experience our emotions is our bodies. So for example, when I feel anxious, I feel it in my stomach. I also feel it in my breathing, right? It's pretty natural when you feel kind of anxious or stressed or kind of keyed up to start to hyperventilate a little bit, breathe more rapidly, and that's sort of a natural bodily response. But what we know from research is that when our body starts to feel stressed, then that escalates our anxiety even further. So one way to help us feel a little bit better is to actually intervene directly at the level of our bodily sensations. So that's really what I'm going to be talking a lot today. Because I don't know about you, I can't just tell myself to stop feeling stressed. I can't say, Matt, stop feeling stressed, and then I feel better. Of course, it takes a little bit more than that. So that's why I'm going to be talking about some sort of body-focused strategies that can help us feel differently. So I'm going to go through these individually, so don't worry about kind of grasping all of these on this one slide, but these are just sort of a sampling of offerings that I'm going to have for you. And as Rachel shared, I'm not expecting anyone to like all of these or to use all of these within the same day. The idea is for you to find a few that kind of work for you, that you really like, that can kind of fit within your day and that serve your purposes. So just kind of keep that in mind, that you're just trying a few things out, and the goal is to find one or two that really work for you. But I will walk us through some of these. So we're going to start with, all of them involve kind of closing your eyes, or at least lowering your gaze a little bit to just sort of be able to focus on your body, and to kind of, take out some of the distractions, the external environment, even just for a moment. So that's why the close your eyes is sort of first. But the next thing I want to talk about is really attending to your breathing. Like I said, breathing is a really big part of how we feel emotions, especially that sort of spectrum between feeling relaxed and feeling stressed. So when we feel stressed, our breathing becomes more rapid, it becomes more shallow. And what we know from research, and there's research even looking at how the brain responds, when we can get ourselves to take some deep breaths, it actually helps us to relax. You've probably heard this day to day, take a breath. That's why we say it. But there's actually a certain way that you can breathe that we know can actually help relax your body and your mind. So that's what I'll be talking about.
Okay, so I'm going to walk us through one of these breathing exercises. And I'm going to start off by counting for you, and then at the end, I'll stop counting and have you count for yourself. So we're going to be using this 4-7-8 method. So we're starting here at the 4, which is the inhale. So when I start counting, you can begin, and just remember the goal is to pull the breath all the way down so that your belly inflates and then deflates as you're breathing in and out, rather than just keeping the air up here in your lungs. So a deep breath. All right, starting here, breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A really slow exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Begin again by inhaling, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Slow exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now do it on your own. So I'll have you count, and I'll just be quiet and do it for myself, okay? So try that. Starting with the inhale, counting to 4, holding your breath, and then breathing out, counting for yourself. Go ahead. Do it one more time for yourself. Okay, sorry to interrupt if people are still going a little bit, but I hope that was helpful and that people feel more relaxed. It might help to do kind of a little scan on how you're feeling in your body and how you're feeling in your mind, and in terms of stress or anxiety. Did that relieve some tension?
I know I feel a little better. I hope that was helpful for some people. So, and then this is just another example. If you're more of a visual person, some apps and some videos can sort of help you visualize the breathing. So I'm just going to play this. So the idea is to breathe out on this side and then Breathe in here. So as the ball's rotating across the circle, exhale, slow. Now inhale. So this one is more emphasizing the slower exhale and inhale. You're not holding it for as long. So this might work better for you. And some people like to have a visual. So just another example of this, but it's sort of using the same principles. So another way to work with our emotions and our feelings is to actually go back a little bit to the thoughts that Rihanna was talking about. There's of course overlap a little bit between these strategies because they're linked together. And I like to use this one for those really stubborn thoughts that you can't, for whatever reason, even coming up with some of those more hopeful statements, they're still just sticking with you and they're making you feel bad. So this is another way to sort of work with those thoughts. And the metaphor I really like is the metaphor of leaves on a stream. So here the emphasis is not so much on changing the thoughts as acknowledging them, but sort of letting them pass by. So, and we're using the metaphor of leaves on a stream. So let's give this one a try.
Exercise 3, leaves on a stream. The idea behind this exercise is to simply notice your thoughts coming and going without getting caught with them, without getting into a conversation with them, not trying to control them, not getting tangled up with them, just noticing them and then letting them go. When you are ready, begin. Sit comfortably in your chair, with your feet on the ground if you can, and your back straight, but not too straight, sitting against the chair. If you wish, close your eyes or have a heavy-lidded gaze, maybe looking at one spot on the ground. Now imagine you are sitting on the bank of a stream and that there are leaves flowing past. The stream and the leaves can look any way you like to imagine. Notice a thought that comes into your mind and imagine placing it on a leaf and letting it flow on. Notice each thought. Imagine placing it on a leaf and let it float on. If your mind begins to wander, just notice that. And return your focus to noticing the thoughts that come to mind. And imagine putting them on a leaf and let them float on. If your thoughts stop, just imagine watching the stream until the next one comes along. It doesn't matter if they are good or bad thoughts. Just notice them and imagine placing them on a leaf and let them float away. If they hang around, just notice that. Don't force the speed that they float away on. Sometimes the leaves that pass are ones that might grab our attention for some reason. Sitting on the bankside, we could notice that attention-grabbing leaf. Let it go and watch and wait for the next leaf that comes along. The aim of the skill is to simply notice that our thoughts are like leaves on a stream, always moving on. Sometimes we think a little or we think a lot. Sometimes we get stuck on thoughts that grab our attention. But all our thoughts come and go, even worry thoughts or sad thoughts. Spending a few more moments just watching your thoughts and placing them on a leaf and letting them go.
Right, so I'm going to pause this there. There's just a little bit more left in the video, but like I said, I find this really helpful for those thoughts that just keep coming back because that's what they do. Thoughts come and they go. And when you think something, it doesn't mean it's true. And sometimes you can't just get rid of them or think your way out of them. But you can move on with your day. You can put them on a stream, put this thought on a leaf and let it flow down the stream. And maybe it's going to come back and grab your attention again, but you can do the same thing. And sometimes that's the best we can do for those really stuck thoughts is to just sort of let them pass through and do their thing. but we don't have to follow them. We can just let it pass. So sometimes you can use this video as sort of a little meditation, but now that I've done this a lot, I just can like have a thought and then realize that I just need to put it on a leaf. So you can just sort of think about it yourself. But when I was starting out with this, I did the meditation a lot, and it really helped me sort of internalize the strategy. So this is one that I use a lot in my practice. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is something that really incorporates your whole body. So another thing that we do when we're stressed is that our muscles really tense up, and that can create stress throughout our body and also affect our thinking and even our behavior. So there are some ways that we can actually relax those muscles, and it's a little bit paradoxical, but the idea is actually that we really tense them and then we let them go. And that's a way to really release some of that stress. It's sort of like a pendulum. Like when you pull it a little bit more in the direction of tensing and then let it go, it swings back to feel more relaxed. So this is called progressive muscle relaxation. This video is about 6 minutes, and for the sake of time, I'm not going to take us all the way through, but I'll give you a little sample for a few minutes, and we'll make sure to include the links on the handout we're going to give you so that you all can try this on your own. So just like the last video, just take a listen, lower your eyes, and try to follow along and notice how it feels in your body.
Progressive muscle relaxation is an exercise that reduces stress and anxiety in your body by having you slowly tense and then relax each muscle. This exercise can provide an immediate feeling of relaxation, but it's best to practice frequently. With experience, you will become more aware of when you are experiencing tension, and you will have the skills to help you relax. During this exercise, each muscle should be tensed, but not to the point of strain. If you have any injuries or pain, you can skip the affected area. Pay special attention to the feeling of releasing tension in each muscle and the resulting feeling of relaxation. Let's begin. Sit back or lie down in a comfortable position. Shut your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. Begin by taking a deep breath and noticing the feeling of air filling your lungs. Hold your breath for a few seconds. Release the breath slowly and let the tension leave your body. Take in another deep breath and hold it. Again, slowly release the air. Even slower now, take another breath. Fill your lungs and hold the air. Slowly release the breath and imagine the feeling of tension leaving your body. Continue breathing slowly throughout this exercise. Try to focus on the feeling of air filling and leaving your lungs. It will be normal for your mind to wander. When it does, do your best to bring it back to the moment. Now, move your attention to your feet. Begin to tense your feet by curling your toes in the arch of your foot. Hold on to the tension and notice what it feels like. Release the tension in your foot. Notice the new feeling of relaxation. Next, begin to focus on your lower leg. Tense the muscles in your calves. Hold them tightly and pay attention to the feeling of tension. Release the tension from your lower legs. Again, notice the feeling of relaxation. Remember to continue taking deep breaths. Next, tense the muscles of your upper leg and pelvis. You can do this by tightly squeezing your thighs together. Make sure you feel tenseness without going to the point of strain. And release. Feel the tension leave your muscles. Begin to tense your stomach and chest. You can do this by sucking your stomach in. Squeeze harder and hold the tension. release the tension. Allow your body to go limp. Let yourself notice the feeling of relaxation.
So I'm going to pause this for the sake of time. I apologize. I probably interrupted some nice relaxation. But notice how especially your lower body is feeling, because that's what we were focusing on thus far. See if you even notice a difference between your lower body and your upper body. Hopefully, especially if you were carrying some tension down there, some of that's gotten released. And the rest of the video will take you all the way up to your face, where you tense and let that go. So this is something that, again, takes a little bit of practice, but once you've done it several times, you can kind of do it on your own. Even like in the moment, you can notice where you're feeling some tension and really target that area with a tense and release, just like this. So I hope, everyone found one or two things that they really like and that they might be able to incorporate into their day. These are things that, again, you can take a good 10 minutes if you have that to set aside and to do it on your break, or you can start to really incorporate these in the moment. Even just taking a few seconds for yourself. Both of those things can be important to do. But the important thing is that you find something that works for you and that you practice. So again, it's hard to find the time. But sometimes if you have a minute, then that's what you have. And even taking that minute to do one of these things can be really helpful. But it's something that, as an organization, you can give each other some support around and model it for your coworkers and really encourage them to do it for themselves, because sometimes it's easier when someone sort of gives you some permission. I hope you can give yourself permission, but it can be helpful to support each other and say, if you want to take a minute, I can watch the kids, and then they'll do the same for you and the time that you needed it as well. So we have to sort of support each other in pursuing some of these practices as well, and start to build a culture of sort of wellness, and that will trickle down even to the kids. If they can see you taking care of yourselves and modeling, when you need to take a minute, that might actually help them start to manage their emotions. So just something to keep in mind. So let's just take one of these moments now. And again, just like the last few times, you can pause your video and take a little bit more time to reflect on this, but I want you to notice what you're feeling now. Do you feel more relaxed or not? Sometimes maybe this isn't the setting that might be as conducive to you really feeling relaxed while you're sort of on a webinar. So you can also think about practicing outside of here. Think about which one of those maybe worked for you. Did you prefer something that really made you feel more relaxed? And is there at least one of these things that you can commit to trying over the next week? Try to incorporate it in your day whenever it makes sense, and get into the habit. So take a moment to reflect on these. Try to identify at least one thing you can commit to trying. And that might make a big difference for you. And we'll include these on the handouts, but I was mostly showing you clips from YouTube, which are super accessible. But there's been this big explosion of mindfulness apps and relaxation apps. I won't go through these individually, but if you want a little bit more structure or something that's like really accessible on your phone, these might be some to try. So we'll make sure to have this list available to you. My personal favorites are the Headspace and the Calm, but all of these have some really nice free resources that can take you through some of these more guided exercises.
And I will put in a plug for Headspace offers free access for teachers. Smiling Mind is also a free app, and also includes different meditations that you can either do for yourself, or there are some child appropriate ones too, if you want to include any of them in your classroom. And so some of these also offer free options.
Great. Okay. And so Rachel is going to finish us out focusing on the do part of the triangle.
Yes, and so this part of the triangle is what we commonly understand as self-care. the things we do to take care of ourselves. So the actions or the behaviors that we can do that help to influence both our thoughts as well as our feelings, and so how we feel. And so this one in particular really depends on what works for you. So every person is a little bit different as far as what they find restorative and what kind of fills your cup. And there are multiple areas that these can fall into. So there are the things we do for our social well-being. This might be time with loved ones, but if we're spending a lot of time with others, it might also include some time for ourselves. And this also includes kind of spiritual well-being. If you are religious or rely on any sort of kind of spiritual healing. There are the things we do to increase our positive emotions, kind of the like fun play things like hobbies, or the things that we do for others, like volunteering and service that give us kind of gratification in return. There are things we do for our physical well-being, like cooking a healthy meal or exercising, and how we feel health-wise can influence how we feel emotionally. And then there are the things we do for rest. So maybe that episode on Netflix, or the things that we do to just kind of relax. And so like all things, it's all about balance. We only have so much time. Sometimes we need to prioritize some things over others. And so it's checking in with ourselves and seeing what is it that we feel like we need at that time, or what it feels like we're missing at that time. And so we have another prompt for just reflection for yourself. And so you can either think or write it down, what you find helpful when you're feeling stressed, or what helps restore you when you're feeling drained. And I'd encourage, if you are watching this with other people, maybe with your colleagues, once you've taken a little while to think for yourself, if you feel comfortable sharing with others, this is a good one to kind of crowdsource ideas of what different people do for themselves to kind of give back and restore. And so I would encourage you to also share with each other. So once you're ready, you can come back to us, and we want to make sure that it doesn't feel like it's all on you to handle the stress that can come with the kind of work that you do. It's important to also have people around you that you can lean on. And an important piece of this is feeling like you have a sense of community at work. And this includes kind of two major components. And so it's feeling like you have things in common, especially that it feels like you're working towards the same goals. And so just like we started at the beginning of thinking for yourself, the why of why you do the work, having these conversations with your colleagues and sharing with each other why you do the work, and feeling like you share this bigger purpose. But then also respecting that there are things that set us apart, where each of you have your own experiences and knowledge, unique things that you bring to the workplace, which is why when problems arise at work, it's helpful to have people around you that you can go to problem solve together, because every person has different ideas and different things that they can bring to that conversation. And so I would encourage you, the next time that you have a problem that comes up at work, thinking of someone that you can go to for advice, or someone that you feel comfortable sharing with. So it doesn't feel like it's all on you to find a solution in that moment. Okay. And with that, we have one more kind of thing to reflect on. And this is also a really good one that if you are watching this with others, to share with each other of what are things your colleagues, friends, or family have done that you find particularly helpful when you're stressed. So this is a nice one to share with each other, to know what is it that my colleagues find helpful in these moments. Okay, we are so happy you're still with us. I'm going to pass it over to Rihanna, who's going to take us a quick, because we threw a lot at you, so a quick summary of everything that we've gone over, and then we'll wrap up.
All right. Thank you, Matt and Rachel. This has been fun to do together. And I want to remind you all of all these things in the different categories. So up at the top, you'll remember that I was talking to you about thinking and what we do when we have a negative thought in order to pick an alternate thought. So make a plan, find a piece of hope or pride, refocus on the moment so that you can get back to that resting time and be ready for another day. Matt talked to you about the feeling piece and using this fun acronym CALM to help you keep sort of a memory of what the easy things are that you can do to help yourself feel better and help your body calm down, including closing your eyes, attending to your breath. We practice different ways of breathing, letting go of your thoughts and letting them float away on a leaf, and using that muscle relaxation. So using those different ideas to help your body calm down. And I kept thinking specifically about nap time. When if you have some kids that won't go down, I've been sitting in a lot of classrooms during nap time, and some kids are trying to sleep and you're trying to stay calm. This is a great opportunity to do any of these, like Matt said, that you can sort of coach yourself through them while rubbing some backs. And your calm body will help in the classroom, just like Rachel said. And then Rachel gave us ideas about taking times for yourselves, connecting with others, and the really important piece of figuring out what it is that you need, right? We can have the wrong ideas of what self-care is supposed to be, right? I mean, not everybody actually wants to take a bubble bath. There might be other things that help you to feel good. I know I always thought, oh, I should just lay down if I feel stressed. It never helped. And eventually, you know what? I actually should go for a hike. That's what I've learned. So it's good to ask other people, like Rachel said, how do I help myself to feel better? What do you do? Get some ideas, because if it's not working, maybe you need some ideas about what to do, or support from others, because they're not all in it yourself. Right. All right. And so this is our final, let's take a minute. And you can pause for as long as you want to do this, to think about what was the most helpful for you? What are you looking forward to using? What things do you want to remember and take with you out of this webinar? And here are some of the examples: identifying those alternate thoughts, connecting with others, deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, taking time for yourself. That's just some of the things we talked about. What works best for you? What do you want to be trying? And what do you want to remember and try to incorporate into your busy day? And finally, if you have further questions, if you want to reach out and ask for resources, to give feedback about this session, you can contact Natasha Harris, who coordinates our efforts in social and emotional learning consultation and supporting all of you. So that's her email address. And I just want to thank you for the time that you've spent with us today and to listen to this whole time. I hope that some of these things were really relaxing for you, and keep an eye out for that handout of these resources to practice at home.
Thank you all for joining. Take care.
Thank you for being with us today. Be well.